Okay, well, I'm Claire Wasserman, founder of Ladies Get Paid. We are an educational platform and global community that is all about helping women advance professionally, financially. I love my job. I hope everybody here loves their job. And if they don't, we have resources to help you get there. And of course, make more money too. Now that we are officially ready to go, I'm just going to jump right into it. But before I give the virtual floor over, I do want to set up some context for the conversation. It's in honor of National Disability Employment Awareness Month, which I'm going to welcome Taryn or anyone else here who wants to talk about specifically that month and what it means. But the goal really is to help those who are listening or watching. How do we make sure that if you are somebody who identifies as disabled, how do we make sure that you know your rights? Your rights in the workplace. How do we also talk about showing up as fully and as authentically as you can? So it's not just about the rights, but it's also about the culture of inclusivity, right? And how do we speak up for ourselves, but also for anybody else, no matter how you self-identified, we all need to be contributing to cultures of inclusivity. And people submitted fabulous questions. And I love that because this can be a sensitive subject. You could see me earlier sweating about the closed captioning. I'll ask all those questions that you sent in. And so same thing now, if you want to put it in the chat, you want to message me privately. This is the time. This is a wonderful group of people here who are going to be very transparent with you about their own stories, but also candidate advice that we all need to hear. And let's just start actually with each of you, maybe talking a little bit about your journey, and how you got into this kind of advocacy work. And maybe I'll jump off here with Emily V, because we have two Emilys, because the whole impetus of this event did begin with Emily V. And I'm going to have you say your last name because you're going to pronounce it better than me. But Emily is the Assistant Director in the White House Office of Public Engagement and the administration's liaison to disabled Americans. She was also participated in Pete Buttigieg's campaign for president, and I'm going to ask you about what it was like to be Chasten. Chasten is his husband. What it was like to be his body woman. And for anybody who's watched Veep, you probably know who I'm talking about, but I want to hear a little bit of the behind the scenes. So, Emily V, welcome to the conversation, and would love to learn a little bit about you.
There we go. It wasn't letting me unmute myself. So thank you so much, Claire. My name is Emily Vordy, and I am an Associate Director in the White House Office of Public Engagement, specifically serving as our liaison to disabled Americans. So I myself am a woman with a disability. You can't see it in the frame, but I use a manual wheelchair. And so I was born with my disability, but I am transparent with folks that I don't think I really came in to that full identity, that full understanding until my late teens and early 20s. And of course, I'm still learning what it means to be disabled, what it means to be a disabled woman, but take so much pride in being able to share that identity in the work that I do, both personally and professionally. So it's really, really great to be here. My background is in education. I'm a former classroom teacher, student of education policy, and then, as Claire mentioned, was on the campaign trail for a bit in the 2020 primary before landing here in the White House. So it's phenomenal to be here. Really looking forward to digging in more. But I will turn it over to my colleague and friend, Taryn. We can just go down the line here with introductions.
I was about to ask about that mute. Hi, everyone. I'm Taryn Williams. I serve as the Assistant Secretary for Labor for Disability Employment Policy, and I am fortunate enough to be the lead of an agency that we often call ODEP, Office of Disability Employment Policy. ODEP's mission is to increase employment opportunities for people with disabilities, and we do that in myriad ways, but really it's through providing leadership, coordination, and expertise across Department of Labor, across the entire federal government, and with the private sector as well. I am someone who lives with ulcerative colitis. or inflammatory bowel disease is sort of the umbrella term there. And I've lived with that since I was 5. And then in my 30s, so about a decade ago, I also developed arthritis. It's sort of secondary to the bowel disease. I am someone who grew up with ulcerative colitis, but I didn't think of myself as a person with a disability. And I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit in our conversation this evening, but I made it to adulthood without necessarily having all of the knowledge that I needed to understand what would it mean to request accommodations in the workplace, and what helped me, and certainly what is really a critical factor in where I am today and the work that I do today is that I was fortunate enough to be working with some amazing advocates, like in the cubicle next to mine, when I was first thinking about accommodations, as a woman whose name is Rebecca Coakley. And she and me were sort of like the same age, but she took me under her wing and really helped me to understand a whole aspect of myself, and being a woman with a disability in the workplace. And that has just like helped me immeasurably, both personally and professionally. So I'll just stop there, and I know we'll get into much more in-depth conversation, but that's how I came to be here, and a little bit about who I am. And I will turn it over to the other Emily, who's next in line.
Thank you so much. So many Emilys in, of course, on this call, but also in the disability space. It's kind of amazing, which is very interesting. But I'm Emily Blum, and I'm the executive director of an organization based in Chicago called Disability Lead. And we are an organization that develops and connects leaders with disabilities to civic and professional opportunities. And so I am a person with a disability. I have a movement disorder called dystonia, and have had it most of my life, but didn't really step into that full identity until I was a participant of the program that I lead. So one of the aspects of what we do is we run an annual institute for what we consider emerging leaders. And these are folks who are interested in kind of understanding how they can really leverage their identity in the workplace and civic space to make change. And so, one of the things that I think about a lot, or the analogy that I like to use, is that, growing up, I was very much connected to the disorder organization that, serves patients like myself. And I didn't realize, so I kind of like had my own song, right? I had my own song with my own lyrics. And, when I started meeting people with disabilities and who had strong disability identities, this realization came to me that, like, how is it that all these other people know the lyrics to my song? And that was such a profound moment, and continues to be a profound moment. So I would imagine, even on this call, as we describe our own disabilities, our disability journeys, that we are going to be in tune and in harmony, which is, I think, a really profound moment that I experience all the time. And with that, I'll pass it to Akilah.
By the way, first of all, thank you all for sharing your stories, because I'm taking copious notes here of follow-up questions to ask. So you've seen me looking down, that's what's happening. But also, I just got goosebumps when you said know all the lyrics to the same song. I'm sure other people as well. And that's why these conversations are so, so important, because oftentimes, no matter who you are or what you're going through, you oftentimes think you're the only one. And it can just be so profound, life-changing to recognize that there is not only others, but a community. Like, there is a community of us. And Dr. Hila Cadet, good friend, one of the editors on my book, we've had her on for many things. And I just thought, is she going to be bothered that I say, hey, what about this thing? You want to do it? And you were like, I definitely want to do this. So welcome to the floor.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I mean, I feel like when the White House calls, you go. Great.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Is it just me? Well, happy to be here. My name is Dr. Akila Kade. I'm the founder and CEO of Change Kade. We're an organizational development consulting firm. And we happen to dabble in diversity all the way through to anti-racism. I like to say I dismantle white supremacy every day. And it's important to share here in this space because when we talk about disability, it does not include us.